somewhere. So we get started on time, hopefully. Just about on time. So, right. That's all right. All right, so we'll have the roll call.
Parker?
Here.
Folly? Groins?
Here.
Dr. Houghton?
Here.
Mr. Ellis?
Here.
Mr. Rich?
Here.
Mr. Goodwin?
Here.
Have a forum.
Mr. Farley's not here because he's under the weather. We hope he feels better soon. Get back to work. Keep goofing off, watching this on TV. Right? So tonight we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by Ms. Birdie Ray, followed by an invocation from Councilman Groins.
She brought a friend as support, Eveline Jackson.
Okay. You got some support with you? All right. You want to get started? Ready?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You gotta have a picture, whether you want to. All right, Mr. Judy.
All right. Thank you. Dear wise and loving Father, let us first say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many blessings and abundant givings. Thank you for life itself and for the measure of health, for substance and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of being appropriate responsibilities. Thanks for the freedom to embrace you or the freedom to reject you. Thank you for loving us even so from your boundless and gracious nature. Therefore, we pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, in particular for this assembled council. I'm asking that you would graciously grant us wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement. I pray for the agenda set before us today. Please give us an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Folly Beach. It is in your blessed name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Play ball.
Great. Good prayer. I thought at the beginning you said, dear wives.
Wise.
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 All right. Well, we lived through another 4th of July. The weather kind of held it down a little bit, off and on. But we still had plenty of visitors, and we still have plenty of visitors. So let's just wait for Labor Day and see how it goes. One more time. We will be having, Lacey, you want to talk about Folly Family Fun Night? For just a second, give us some dates.
Well, I certainly can.
Congratulations, I made her talk before you did. This is, you want to introduce yourself to everyone first so everybody knows who to call now.
My name is Lacey Deeds. I am the new community coordinator here. We hit the ground running last week, so if you want to know something, probably don't call me yet. We are starting out with the Family Fun Night next Tuesday, the 19th. They will run for 3 weeks. The 19th is a pirate theme, and it will be from 5 to 7 at Folly River Park. The 26th is an island theme. We have some Polynesian dancers coming in, teaching the kids how to do it. So it'll be fun. We have live music every night. 5 to 7, again, Folly River Park. On August 2, we are combining Family Fun Night with National Night Out, working with the chief here and his officers. That event will actually be behind City Hall at the come, they can go through the fire trucks and the patrol cars and meet the officers. We'll be serving hot dogs that night and a whole bunch of little tchotchkes for the kids, so it'll be fun. Got 3 weeks in a row.
Can they ring the bell on the fire truck?
You need to clear it.
No bells on the new one. Okay, thank you, ma'am. So, stuff coming up for the family. And also stay tuned because hopefully later on, we'll be talking about some, maybe some concerts in the park as the summer ends up for the residents. So it'll be a little different. That's all I have from Eric's comments. Mr. Pub, you want to talk again for a while?
So, City Council, in your packets, Resolution 2822 is to reappoint Judge Christine Bornado as our business license hearing officer. She was originally appointed in 2018. We had a business license denial hearing that came to council. And after that hearing, council decided that they'd like an independent third party to be a business license hearing officer. So we switched over in 2018. And Judge Bornado has been doing that for us since then. However, earlier this year, in January, our old business license ordinance was replaced and repealed by the new statewide standard business license ordinance. And so that means in order for Judge Bornado to continue to be your official designee, we need to reappoint her under the new ordinance. That's how you guys got the business license hearing last month, because we hadn't done it yet, so it needed to come through you guys. But if you approve Resolution 2822, all future business license appeals, that's for revocations, suspensions, denials, basically any appeal of anything that the business license official does will go to the judge rather than to you guys.
Got 6 months of strategic planning to talk about.
So also in your packet, or in the city council agenda packet, not the work session packet, starting on page 6, going through page 8. This is a list of the strategic plan items that we all decided on in January, and kind of a progress report for where we are a little more than 6 months into the year. And for the sake of time, I won't review them all, but the must-do items. Our first priority was implementing drainage projects that we identified in the island-wide drainage study presented to you guys late last year. We hope that the $900 million that the state is handing out of their ARPA money is our ticket to get some of these stormwater projects done. Eric, Kyle, and Lee and I have been meeting. We've gotten back proposals from outside engineering firms to help us with the grant application. That money is being distributed by the Rural Infrastructure Authority. You can't apply yet. They've been holding workshops around the state to educate folks how to apply, what the categories are. And we've decided that it's in the city's best interest to hire an engineering firm to write some of these grants for us. We've lined up where our match monies are coming from. It's a mix of our ARPA money, contributions from Charleston Water System for the redundant water main, the grant matching funds we put in the budget, and if necessary, we may even come to you guys for a withdrawal from the bank account. We only had to provide a 15% match, and we can apply for up to $10 million worth of projects. So any investment that we take out of the general fund, it's a great opportunity to leverage our money for high impacts. So we know we're going to apply for the redundant water main. We've already gotten a FEMA grant for that. We've already gotten $1.2 million from CPW for that. So we feel like that's our best shot for water capital items. And then the stormwater things, we're going to use our consultant to help us decide if we want to do one project to kind of capture all of them, or break them down into smaller projects to increase our chances for funding. We feel like we're going to be in a good position when this opens up in September. We're already awarded the contract for the redundant water main grant to the same firm that wrote the grant for the FEMA money that we got for that project. So that one's basically, I think, ready to go. They'll just have to carry over a lot of that information from the FEMA grant to the state grant. The stormwater stuff's going to take more work, but I think this week, we're gonna notify which firm we've selected and let them go ahead and start working. And we were able to do it all under, we did not have to go to bid because of the level of price. Procurement doesn't require us to go out for formal bid for this. So we're lined up, and I think we're in as good this position as any other city in the state to be the first in line for that money. We anticipate all their materials, talk about if the funding doesn't get distributed, but with only $900 million and every city and town in South Carolina lining up to get their water capital and stormwater stuff done, I imagine that money's gonna go probably pretty quickly in the first round. So we wanna make sure that we get our applications in on day one. So that's party number one. Second, we have the East Arctic Avenue Complete Street implementation. We put that out to bid last year. The bids came back from way over our budget. You guys added more money to the FY23 budget, so now we're in a new budget year. We hope to get that RFP back out to the world by the end of this month. Expanding paid and unpaid parking. We sent an application to DOT in 2020 to review potential future expansion of the paid parking program. The goal was to lay out for DOT all of our potential future paid parking areas, let them tell us which ones would be approved, which ones wouldn't be approved, and then implement those over several years. In August, we will be on the second anniversary of our permit submittal. We have heard nothing back from DOT on that permit. We are slowly escalating our way up the chain to ask them to give us some word one way or the other. Are they going to approve or not approve our paid parking expansion permit? So as soon as we get a date, we formally requested the secretary, made a formal request for a meeting, a review of our application that's now 2 years old. As soon as we get information, we'll update you guys. We have a communications plan development for internal and external. This was included in the RFP for our website refresh. We have not distributed it to council yet. We did get it back from the vendor. And I think I can say publicly that the preliminary review of that product has not been stellar. Staff is not pleased with the work they put into our communications plan. We've shown it to a few people, but we haven't shown it to you guys. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do. Basically, we've got a communications plan that's boilerplate. It's 2 pages long. We don't feel like we got what we paid for. We're trying to figure out how to address that. The next must-do item was rebuilding the beach groins with emergency access. Last year, we decided, or you guys decided, to allow us to pursue a master plan for the design and engineering of all the remaining groins. Phase 1, we did 8 groins a couple years ago, and we designed, permitted, and then constructed them. For phase 2, rather than design, permit, and construct another 8 groins, we're designing and permitting all of the rest of the groins. And then phases 3, 4, 5, 6 will be the actual construction. And that master plan is underway. We have a pre-application meeting with DHEC. Is it already scheduled, Eric? So pretty soon we have a pre-application meeting with DHEC, and we'll go over with Dr. Elko and Eric and I and find out if and what permitting concerns they might have. We feel like we worked out most of the kinks in phase 1. How to classify these projects, how to make sure we've fulfilled in their permitting scheme. So we believe that'll be okay, but we're just crossing the I's and dotting the T's. So those are the should-do priorities. The medium and low priorities are there on the list for your, for you guys to review if you have any questions. Otherwise, we're pleased with the progress we're making. I think we've touched most of the goals. There are a few that are sitting out there that still need some work, but I'm confident that by the end of the year, we will have completed most, if not all of them.
Okay. So, we're up to approval of agenda.
Motion to approve.
Have a second? Okay, I make a motion that we pull ordinance 2722 until August, whatever date that is.
Second.
August 9th. So, got any discussion about the motion? Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Groom?
Yes.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Back to the agenda as amended. Any questions or discussion?
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Dr. Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Have up to approval of the minutes from June the 14th. Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Have any discussion, corrections, or additions?
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Dr. Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yeah.
Passes.
Okay, so we're up to personal appearances, and first on your list for personal appearances was Dr. Richard Beck. He will not be here this evening. He's under the weather. He's sick. So he sounded terrible on the phone. I wish he'd get well soon, and maybe you'll see him next time. We'll see. Next up is Queen of the Beach, Joshua. That's you.
That's me.
Yeah. Give us your name and address and all the pertinent information. Yeah.
I'm Josh Monona. I'm the owner of Southeastern Grappling Association, and we were looking to hold an event at Folly Beach. It's going to be a grappling event. It'll be early in the morning. We're aiming at 3rd Street West, a little off of where the surf school is. I've spoken with Dave Miller from the SCDNR with the Turtle Watch. He said it shouldn't interfere with anything going on there. And I have another phone call with him on the 1st just to make sure nothing has changed. I've also spoken with Shane Granigan. He's the director of operations for Isla Surf School that operates right there. He said it's a problem, and he sent letters back to the detective system for that as well.
Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do you have a second? Sorry.
Oh, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I support grappling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes hand in hand with the surf culture here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Orphan, Low Country Orphan Relief Day. I believe Mr. Lex got promoted to present this. Not as nice looking as some of the other ladies that work here.
Sorry about that. My wife and I have been a part of this event for over 15 years, so I thought I could represent tonight. This is an annual beach day event for Low Country Orphan Relief. They represent all the Low Country orphanages and foster homes. And every August, they bring a group of kids out here to the beach, and then there's volunteers that support the event down at the tent. The Baptist Beach House down here on the west end. Same exact event as last year. We have been, actually Christina has been in contact with Lieutenant Ortiz and has security worked out with them. And she hires lifeguards every year from PRC, and I believe she's already got that worked out. Off-duty lifeguards. So every year in the past, there's been a very quiet event. Huge success for the orphans. A lot of them, it's the only time they've ever seen the beach, maybe the only time they ever get to see the beach. Just during this annual event. We're hoping you will let us do it again this year.
And it's August the 13th.
Yes, sir.
That's a Saturday.
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments? I will say I've been involved with them for a few years back and forth, and it's really a nice group. And if you ever get a chance, go to their, I guess they're going to have a carnival again one of these days in the
Fall
fall.
Carnival in November, down at the old Navy Yard.
Yeah. Or you ever get a chance, go up there, call them, go visit their facility. It's really nice.
This is down at the First Baptist Beach House. Will they see our approval for the amount of people, maybe?
That's just
Okay.
a gang of people there.
Okay. I mean,
They have plenty of chaperones too, but
We had done it for years without coming to council, and realized somewhere along the way that we really should. So. Right.
all right.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Barger,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Dr. Houghton,
Yes.
Mr. Groins.
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin,
Yes.
passes.
Before I move on to the next one, just because it kind of goes hand in hand with, what day is surface healing this year?
It's Thursday, August 25th.
25th.
Yeah.
So that's another event people ought to at least see one time.
And the hottest day of the year.
I was not gonna say that this time. But it is the hottest day of the year. But it's the most heartwarming day of the year too. Okay, so next is 206 West Arctic variance request, Mr. Parker.
How you doing? I'm Richard Parker. We live a few houses past that Baptist beach house there I was talking about at 1029 West Ashley. And I'm here to discuss 206 West Arctic. That's a lot that we own. That's right between Loggerheads and the 3rd Street Park. It sits right in the middle on that little strip. East Arctic or West Arctic's on one side, West Ashley's on the other side. It's a pretty densely populated strip. There's 2 condominium complexes, and then immediately across from my lot is Charleston Oceanfront Buildings. Pretty dense area. There's about 12 parcels remaining other than those, and they were island commercial zoning. And it's recently been changed to 2-family residential about a month ago. So when it was changed, that changed what we were going to do with the property. And so I'm up here to try to get an amendment or variance, I don't know what it's called, but I want to go forward with my project and state the reasons why. So I bought it as island commercial, and we began about 2 years ago with putting an appropriate use on the property. And I had a local contractor, Paul, that we were going to put 2 5-bedroom houses on the property. When we got 6 months into that and it was about time to get approved, a new zoning administrator came in, Katie Gurley, which did a fine job, but right there at the end, before we were to do those 2 5-bedroom houses, she worked with Paul and wanted it to go to 1,800 square foot houses, which would be a 3-bedroom house, 2 3-bedroom houses. I wasn't interested in doing that because when I bought the property, I knew what we wanted to do and we didn't want to do that. So we started thinking, what else can we do? And since we bought it as island commercial, we knew we had flexibility to put a nice little commercial space below and put a residential up top. So we had flexibility. That's the whole reason we bought it. Otherwise, we would have bought a residential lot or a 2-family residential lot. So we started thinking about an inn above a small grocery coffee shop. And it started taking flight there, and I got an architect and we put a lot of time in that, about a year's worth of time into it. I even have the corporate business names. The inn is going to be called the Folly Beach Inn, and the downstairs will be called Jilly Beans, Coffee, and Provisions. My wife's named Jill. She and I are going to run it. So the provisions would be the staples that you can find down there, birds, milk, cheese, eggs, that kind of stuff. But we want it to be a family-friendly place. We're going to have soft serve ice cream in there. We're going to have gumballs for the kids, toys. We're also going to have some booths in there where locals can come and sit down, have a cup of coffee, read the paper. It's going to be an enjoyable place. So that's what we want to do. So that now, if it's changed to 2-family residential, I can't do it. And it's pretty easy to see that that's not fair to me. Now, fairness really doesn't matter a whole lot in life, but when you're talking about a small community with maybe 600-700 full-time residents, of which we're one of them, it does matter. And it's no way to build a community. So that's why I'm asking for an exception. The second thing is we did work. We were good citizens. We were complying with all the ordinance around here, and we did work with the city. We got shot down on the first use. We got into the grocery coffee shop, went all the way, Katie finally said, hey, this is good. My architect and Katie agreed on it. Then the moratorium hit. Then the zoning got changed. So it's very easy to see here that it's not fair to me. You might have the right to do it, but that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. So that's what I'm asking for. The third thing is it's going to be a good place. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a family fun place. We're going to run it. We've got 15 vehicle spots on the property. We've got 6 golf cart spots on the property. And it's going to be good, especially for the west side. They're not going to have to, during the summer, cross Center Street to go to Burke's to pick up a few staples. They're going to be able to get it right there. And these beautiful sidewalks that are now built carry you right up to where we're anticipating we're going to have 50% of our foot traffic will be foot traffic, 50% will be vehicle traffic. It's going to be supervised by us, by the manager down there. If it's 2 short-term rentals, that's not supervised. You've got problems with that. If it's an inn, the code enforcement men or whoever just comes to the manager at the inn and take care of it. Or we move the person out, it's causing a problem. So that's how we bought the lot. That's what we want to do. I'm just asking for some way to be able to do it. And I guess that's what I have. I can answer any questions if y'all have them about it.
We're gonna have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
No?
Second.
Okay. Any question?
I do have a question.
Yes.
When did you start the process? Think back. When was that?
I bought it about 2 years ago, and then I waited 3 months, and then it's been a piece of dirt ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we started, 2 years ago. I worked with the first contractor with the city, and that got shot down. It took about 9 months. And then we a couple of months later, started on the construction of the inn. And I've got full plans. I've sent the plans to all of y'all. I'll send it to you again. But we've put a lot of time into the plans, got to have the architect. We've put a lot of time into it.
Thank you.
What was the problem the first time around? I was wondering why you're shut down for 2 houses.
Because at the time, we were allowed to put more square footage into each house. And when Katie came on, she wanted 1,800 square foot.
She's not the law. I'm just wondering how that came about.
What
She's not the law. Because she wanted 1,800 square foot. That's not what the law said. But that's what I'm wondering. Did she enforce something that we didn't have in place? Or was it that we had it in place and you just didn't know about it all the time? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Because the law didn't change as soon as she came on.
Right.
So I'm wondering if she misrepresented or if the law was in place and y'all just didn't know it at the time.
I'm not sure, but now I put my sign up.
Well, it's a pretty significant ask. I mean, because the law was in place and you just didn't know it, well, it's not so much our fault, it's kind of more yours. But if you were misrepresented as something into a law that didn't exist, well, then I can see a little error on the city side, but I would just blow it off as that's not that big of a deal. It kind of is.
Well, since she's not here, and Mr. Pope was the administrator for so many years.
So the cumulative 3,600 heated square foot standard for duplexes has been in place for probably 10 years. I don't know what happened prior to Katie coming, but I do know that Katie got an application for 2 structures that were over the cumulative square feet allowed for a duplex, and she denied it.
So that rule was in effect when the property was bought and was started. So that's what I'm getting at. I hear you about hardships tonight, and honestly, at first there was no way I was even thinking about it. Variance, but okay, well, it was misrepresented, but the law was in place that you couldn't have done what you originally wanted to do. So that's where I'm having an issue at now. So that's more of a case of you weren't aware of the laws that were on the books, or your contractor wasn't, somebody fed you a false information that was not us.
Right. I didn't know, you're right. The contractor, I guess, thought he could get it done, and so that's why we bought his island commercial, because we could, segue into something else. So that's when we got started on the end.
Right.
I'll tell you, since we didn't do a cap on rentals, even if it's only 1,600 or 1,800 square foot per rental, I personally would probably rather see an inn go there. It's easier to manage the people who are staying there, and they're usually not as
So now that's why another reason I'm torn out, I would like to see something that is monitored and self-sufficient, but then that just seemed like a lot. And to me, before, if he was fed something like, okay, I'd rather you have less impact, have more green space, because at the end it was all gone. But I'm kind of with you on that. But the law was in place from the beginning, and that's why now I'm having a hard time going back. He didn't buy it. The intent that he bought it for was not available from day one, from our
I
standpoint.
got that, but the second intent that he had was available, but he got caught up in the process. He got caught up in the, it was available to do.
I thought from day one. I mean, I knew that this was the one person that, man, you were just too late. Him and then Wolfie. I mean, that's
The process being the moratorium followed by the rezone.
Right.
And he started before.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a great project for the community.
So here's what we gotta do. If you want to bring this back and discuss it more, think about it more. If you want to talk about approving variance for his request, you have to say, or make a motion to approve the variance for his request, but that's not gonna give him his request. We'll have to come back with an ordinance, and then you'll have to vote on the ordinance
Yeah, can
for
I,
the variance.
and I think Aaron and I, we talked about this. It's a pretty fine line you gotta tread here. But there's an application, what basically is going on is a zoning ordinance amendment. And a citizen can propose that. But there's a whole list of procedures. You might want to set out in our ordinance 162.03-01. And there's an application that's supposed to be submitted under there. You got to give notice to your neighbors. And then it goes to the planning commission, because it's a zoning change, right? So it's got to go through that process.
In a hearing.
And a hearing, and then back, and then council would have to pass it by ordinance, 2 readings.
But we would have to bring an ordinance back, send it to planning,
Correct.
remand it to planning, and then go through that whole process.
Can we just grant him a variance?
No, that's what we're saying.
This is essentially the only procedure that we could find that variances aren't allowed for uses.
What? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
A normal,
So, council can approve a use variance, but they have to do it through ordinance. You can't vote on a use variance at a personal appearance.
To be honest with you, that actually helps me know that it has to go through that many checks and balances, and then we still get to kind of say yay or nay to it at the end. I'm better off with that than us just giving a variance for anything today. I mean, personally, I think some things need to be scaled back a little bit, but that's going through planning and zoning hearings if that's the case. I mean, I feel better about that than anything.
Okay.
So like I said, the motion would have to be that you want to see Aaron bring you an ordinance that you're gonna send to planning to go through that whole process.
Okay, I moved that I want to see Aaron bring an ordinance forward to begin the process.
I second.
So any discussion on that motion? Go ahead.
is this gonna include the city paying for all the, well, not paying, but I mean, doing the work required, which includes notices?
That's the standard procedure, so I mean, that's what.
I just want to clarify.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what we would standardly do, so.
What's your name again?
Richard Parker.
Okay, so to Mr. Ellis's motion.
Moved, seconded by Mr.
Baker.
Parker.
Excuse me, Baker.
Dr. Houghton?
Could you just read exactly what?
So a yes vote is approving an ordinance to be presented to grant a use variance for this property. So you're not approving the use variance, you're approving the initiation of the process.
And then it comes back to us. Yes.
Mr. Groins?
Yes.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Well,
Well, it's not a celebration yet.
That's a homework.
Be patient.
Celebrating with
Okay. Citizen comments.
I'll go. Matt?
State your name and the whole 9 yards as before.
Will do. My name's Sam Meter. My wife and I live at 318 East Arctic Avenue. We also own 318 East Ashley Avenue. I'm also a licensed real estate agent. Between what we own as STRs and what I manage for other families, we have 14 STR units that we're in charge of. So a lot of these issues are very personal to us. Thank you for your deliberations. I know you're hearing a lot of information from both sides. I'd like to address the fees. I think in general, we're probably past the point of having no fees. I'd like to consider an option of no fees, but with everything that's gone on, I think we're going to likely end up with staff. I wasn't aware until I heard Aaron's presentation about the revenue generated from the estimated 427 convictions. Along with the proposed STR fees, right now the fees are a flat rate. So part of it feels like there's a big money grab for an unknown quantity of work, and I know you're starting to quantify it. But the current flat fee of $18.25 for the 6% and $360 for 4% seem very arbitrary. Most of our rentals, and from the page Aaron showed tonight, most of our rentals, 9 out of the 14 are 1 or 2 bedrooms. And for us to pay the same fee as the remaining 75%, because according to your chart, 75% of the STRs are 3 or more bedrooms. It doesn't seem equitable to have everybody pay the same. I would feel more comfortable having the STR fees tied to the quantity of bedrooms or revenue. Since you're likely asking us to provide county documentation as to the number of bedrooms, it seems if you did it for this too, that would kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So I want you to consider some graduated scale on the fees. Last thing is just sort of an observation. Last meeting on the 28th, I asked a question out of turn and got a big shush from Aaron about, like, when you get your license revoked, how long do you get it revoked for? You said, no questions, but it's 12 months. But I couldn't find that language anywhere in this ordinance. I just want to make sure it gets in there. The word revocation appears 16 times, but I didn't see anywhere where it says there's revocation for a certain finite period of time. Want to make sure somebody's looking at that. And that's all I have to say.
So business license ordinance, when we're talking about changing, have to change the ordinance.
So, Joe,
Yeah.
would you mind explaining the leeway council or its designee has
So-
in revoking the license?
I will call it the default provision that currently exists right now. It can be found in our business license ordinance. And it's a provision, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it essentially says you cannot apply for a license. There's a list of reasons you can't apply for a license, and one of them says you've been revoked within the last 12 months. So if council doesn't address that issue at all, I would say it just defaults to 12 months. Having said that, I think council is completely within its discretion, as I think I've said before, to adjust that period, shorter or longer. You can make it 1 month, you can make it 3 months, you can make it 2 years. You can attach conditions. And frankly, I've done that with some of my other clients where they create probationary periods and bring it into compliance within 6 months type things. So council's at its discretion to set forth the appropriate punishment it sees fit.
My name is Michelle Newensinger, and I've been a resident of Folly Beach since '94.
Whereabouts?
I live at 314 West Indian, and everybody's been amazed at this. I want to show this farm to everyone. When I bought this resident, there was no short-term rentals.
Talk to these guys.
Oh, sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. And Aaron's been gracious to help me. The thing that I'm concerned about is living in my home and being in my backyard, and I cannot read a book. This is so loud. I mean, in my front yard, and it's so loud, I cannot read. I've had people in my yard, I don't know who these people are. And I think it's because of this. And what really bothered me, council members, is that I had a long-term rental person that's been there for a long time with a nice family, and they were told to move because someone's gonna buy their home. Well, now it's a short-term rental. There are so many properties that you know, council, that are short-term rentals where we live in residential areas. My main concern is I would like to for the people of Folly Beach to have a vote. And I would like to know that we can vote on a cap, that we're involved, the residents of this community. And that's all I really want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Smell initiative and referendum.
Anybody else?
Hi there, Mayor Goodwin and City Council members. I'm Ann Peets and I live at 606 West Beach Court, and I've been a resident here for about a decade. I'm speaking in alignment with many Folly residents who have family ties to Folly Beach, who own and live and work here all year. We've saved and sacrificed to own a home here. We're active members of the community who support city events, assist with turtle patrol, and keep businesses going in the winter when the tourists are gone. My experience is with a rental home on our quiet block, wreaking havoc time after time, with loud noise, drunk confrontations, golf cart racing, grills billowing smoke into neighbors' houses, overflow parking, and screaming large groups of partiers. And now I've watched another neighbor with a high-end home upgrade his backyard into a beautiful oasis, only to have to sell and move off the island because he couldn't enjoy one quiet weekend with the rental antics next door. I've been tracking the documents and debate thus far, and here's just a couple of the suggested revisions from my perspective. So first is to revisit the whole cap issue. I know we've been watching it and it's been kind of voted down, but to not shy away from the challenge of doing this well. It seems that Isle of Palms and other groups have really been able to take a look at different organizations and different city areas. And we basically, if we're not able to come up with some sort of scheme there, we run the risk of losing what is our Folly community and what makes it special. Leaving this open for so many short-term rentals basically takes the island downhill to more of a Myrtle Beach scenario, which I don't think any of us want. Number two, full empowerment of the enforcement staff. We're listening in terms of the whole staff that's being put together to enforce all these new regulations. They need to actually be empowered to mete out fines and deterrents. Waiting for the court cases, I know there's regulations around it, but waiting for the court cases could take months, and it doesn't really solve anything in terms of the immediate issues of overcrowding, parking, or noise. They need to be able to provide warnings, to provide fines, further deterrence for bad behavior. Otherwise, they're just being paid to give another warning, as we neighbors already do. Number three, noise requirements. This is one of the most consistent issues, and the noise requirement needs some teeth behind it. Being warned and then later being asked to voluntarily put in a noise measurement is absolutely a non-starter. The new enforcement staff needs to be able to fine on the first infraction and require noise monitoring to be added on the second one. This will result in immediate accountability by owners. I think Kristen will talk to it in a little while, but we go over and we basically handle noise on a consistent basis ourselves. So if this enforcement group is going in just a second time, it's just really not going to have much teeth to it. And the last part is all the required parking space drawings, just to make sure that they're going to be enforced. I know that there's language in the regulations around, you know, spending time and going in and seeing that things are posted and discussed with the renters. But maybe on the first infraction, they would be required to show that they've had the discussion, where is it in the house, so that there could be some real teeth to, hey, yes, we did discuss all these regulations with the renters. So like many of us, I came to Folly for its amazing beauty and sense of community. We're not against short-term rentals as residents at all. We just want to put in concrete, enforceable regulations to manage the downsides of these arrangements, to prevent the erosion of the quality of life of our homes and community.
Thank you.
We as permanent residents vote for this council, and our voices need to be heard and considered, and I thank you for your consideration.
Anyone else?
John McFarland, representing Save Folly's Future, and I support the comments that have already been made about the citizens. I'm disappointed that the mayor's cap proposal was cut from at the last meeting. None of us really know what a majority of the residents think about the cap system. We're just guessing, all of us, even though I've done a couple polls. Which is why I'm asking you to hold an advisory referendum on this issue. An advisory referendum will let all of us know what the residents really want to do about investment STRs. It would just make a couple simple questions. One, do you support a citywide limit of investment? And two, do you support the mayor's proposal on the limit, 800, 900, whatever it would be, or similar language? Just a couple questions. I'm willing to accept the decision of the voters on this issue, and I'd hope that you would also do that. Have the referendum, and then we'd know better which direction to go in. Thank you.
What was your name and address again?
John McFarland. I live at 1780 Chelwood Circle.
Thank you.
In Charleston.
Anyone else?
Thank you, all of y'all, for all that you do. Darlene Rawls, 5 Red Sunset Lane for 22 years. Full-time resident, raised a child out here. I really appreciate all that y'all are doing to help all of us to live up here. I appreciate your proposal to limit the event houses from 49 to 25, but I personally would like to request that you change the ordinance, change to the ordinance you adopted several years ago of 2 + 2 per bedroom. It's really okay with me if there's a short-term rental that has 3 bedrooms and they're supposed to have 8 people, but they have 10 and there's children and it's a family. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that same house with 3 bathrooms has 25 people. It was 49. I really appreciate 25 being better, but that's still 7 to 8 people per bathroom that are there all day, all night, weekend, day out, day in and day out. I know who my owners are, so if the guy across the street really had 15, 20 people, our neighbors know that he's not supposed to have that many. We would let your ordinance officers know. There are over 20 commercial event spaces on Folly, not including the front beach. We basically have converted my residential area that's zoned residential to a commercial property. We have, with those 20 commercial properties that we can have events, and we have about 2,000 citizens that live here, that's 1 event space for every 100 people that live here. We have plenty of event spaces. When we have a dinner party with 25 people at our own home, 3-4 times a year, it's busy. There's a lot of cars. People come to my house, they park. They can park in my driveways. I have room for them, but I'm making noise. I have 25 people. When it's over, I'm exhausted. So across the street, the same house can have 25 people every single weekend. It's just too much. But anyway, that's all I needed to say. I really appreciate all y'all are doing, but it would really help if y'all would push a little harder to protect the people that live here and get rid of the event houses. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name's Yvette Boyd. I'm at 1668 East Ashley, as you know that. Raised a family here, got a daughter going to college here, work and live here forever. So, in regards to the STRs, I don't like the cap on it, and I think it's ridiculous to tell somebody what they can and cannot do with their home as far as having an event. I don't agree with that. If I'm gonna have an event, why can't my next door neighbor, they happen to rent it, just go through the city channels to get it like normal? It's already on record. They have to get permits for parties, so why are we doing that? There's a few things in regards to the COA, asking for a COA to get a business license. That's already usually done when you build a piece of property, so I would think that you would have a COA before you could do anything with it anyway. So I was trying to figure out where you guys are going with that. I think there needs to be a sliding scale on the annual fee, to be quite honest. Why is a 2-bedroom paying the same fees and I've had more than one person telephone me about this, than somebody who has a rental annual rate of, $400,000 or $500,000 a year. I've seen people that tell me that they, have made off their rental houses $275,000. I've had people tell me that they've had rental houses that made $50,000. Why is somebody paying the same fee for the same house? It's kind of, different houses and different incomes. So that bothers me a lot as far as being a resident and owner and thinking about renting my house. So I'm going to pay the same fee to be able to have my registration that somebody is doing the same thing, but they have a 5-bedroom house making $300,000. Just wondering. The septic tank thing, if DHEC goes ahead and when you get your certificate of occupancy and DHEC has said when you build, you get this many bedrooms, you need a septic tank for this. I'm trying to figure out why the city wants to tell us that we have to get it inspected again at a cost to us to tell you what we already have when we build our house. So I was trying to figure that one out. It just seems like there's quite a bit of overreach on certain things. There's a lot of things that I was looking at that could actually be addressed when you go and do your registration to get your rental permit, that you could just ask the owners, simply ask the owners. And if something's wrong, ask them. You don't need us to tell you how many bedrooms we have. We don't need it. You have charlestoncounty.org that will tell that for you. If the owner tells you you have 3 and they don't have 3 and you're wondering how all these people are fitting in the house, all you have to do is, go online. I don't honestly think that you're creating jobs that you don't need to be creating.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Council, Kristen Capel here. I have a lot to say, so I'm going to read, so I don't miss anything.
What's your address?
And I am crippled. So
What's your address?
Oh, I'm going to tell you. Kristen Capel, 612 West Beach Court. It's on the west side. Just so you know, I don't know if you know this, but there's about 71 permanent residents that have gathered together that are aligned similarly with how Ann and I feel. They can't all be here. It's after hours, working, have children, etc. I love this community. I've been here for 9 years now, raised my little girl. She moved here when she was 3 months old. It took me my whole entire career to be able to afford to do this, to be here. And I feel like I'm a really active member of the community. I volunteer a lot. And keeping in mind that the permanent residents that live here are part of what helped build the community feel that Folly is, which is what people are coming to be a part of. It's not just the beach. And we now have 10 children on my street. And so my little girl was the only one. I never thought she was going to be able to ride her bike and go play with friends down the street. There was one permanent resident, or one STR on the street when I moved here. Now there's 5. And there's another house for sale at the same time. And it feels at this point in time unsafe for her to ride her bike down there between the random people that are in my yard drinking, partying, etc., the golf cart racing that's happening. There are 9 cars right now when I got here today, 9 cars parked at the house next door to me that's a rental. It only has 5 bedrooms, just so you know. When I moved here, I really was excited about this community, and I still am. And I really know that I voted for many of you on the staff here because I knew that you believe in Folly and what Folly is to so many of us. I'm not against short-term rentals. I might need to rent my house out one day. What I am for is keeping the Folly community what it is. We are the people that built this community. You guys built this community, and I'm excited to be here, but it's out of control. In the 9 years I've been here, poor Folly Beach Police, they know me by name. I've called at least 40 times for things like harassing, threatening me on my own property in my own backyard more than once, trespassing almost every weekend, vandalism to my boat, to my house, stealing from me, parking on the city water meters that are on my property while they're parking on my yard beyond the 6 feet. The noise problems galore, I can't even go into it. Out of control bonfire that almost engulfed my own fence and about the house next door. A bride beating on my front door, cussing me out, almost attacking me. Her bridesmaids had to pull her off. Drunk people passed out in my driveway on a regular basis. Beer cans everywhere in my yard, trash. Stalkers, speeding golf carts, speeding trucks. I live 4 doors down from the cul-de-sac. So speeding at that point in time is really dangerous for children, pin up and live on my street. I'm just asking that you take to heart the value of the residents that live here that are not against short-term rentals. We're against we're for managing and keeping under control and keeping a sense of community. that we look for here. So I do ask for a cap, whatever that right number is. I ask for holding to account all parties, the owner of the property managers, many of which like speak here, the renters themselves, more staff to enforce, giving them teeth. And then my time is up. So thank you very much for hearing us, and really thank you for serving.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Michael River, 270 Little Oak Island Drive. Just being here, listening to everybody tonight, I agree with both sides. I'm an STR owner, and I've never had any infractions. We have hundreds and hundreds of families that stay with us. I also own the liquor store. I've had 2 problems in 12 years owning it. What I'm hearing is it boils down to management. We manage our properties in-house. If there's a problem, I show up at 10 o'clock at night if somebody's lost their key. And I think where the problem lies is the larger companies do not give that type of service. I'm listening to this gentleman, he has 14 properties, doesn't have any headaches. I've got quite a few, I don't have any headaches. It boils down to the laws are in place. I follow the laws of the state and of Folly Beach. It's just, again, I don't get it, how these people have to put up with the problem of their neighbor doing that. And I've had some small things. John McFarland is my neighbor, 2 behind me. He has 2 homes directly behind one of my inns. No headaches. We know each other. We cohabitate quite well. And again, it's management. You need to hold the responsible people that have 50, 60, 100 homes out here. They need to be responsible for this, and they need to be fined, and they need to lose their license if they're not doing the right thing, period. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. So we'll move on to new business, ordinance 24-22, ordinance amending Folly Beach Code of Ordinances, first reading, section 72.24, time parking on Center Street by removing the exemption for residential parking passes in time parking areas. So a motion for approval.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
This does not remove time parking from Center Street. It just removes the exemption for residents. Most residents don't park on Center Street most of the time. So any discussion?
Next question.
No, excuse me. Sorry.
No, that's no problem. I read this and I walked up and down the streets, to be honest, and just sort of tried to put myself in other people's shoes as far as residents. And I think it's important to sort of explain like why we actually have to do this. Because in many ways, what problem are we solving? So I asked those questions. You know, you want to run into the library, you want to go here, you want to go there. Is it less, when you get these emails that are like, people don't even really read like why we're doing it. So I think it's important that we just like black and white state why we're even considering.
Okay, we're doing this because the state DOT said we had to do it.
Okay, so.
They didn't argue with time parking, but they said they can't have residential exemptions.
Okay, so in light of that, my question is this. I just have a thought. I mean, is it unreasonable to say, as a city, there's a city hall and a community center? Can those spots at least be sort of designated in an area? I know I'm kind of okay.
They've got 30 seconds parking, they've got 30-minute parking spots in front of both of them.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. In the side of the library's got designated parking too. So I mean, most citizens, if they're going to use anything at City Hall, they park, they run in. Most of them don't even try to go to Center Street because you're not going to find a parking space. Most of the time, they park on the side streets. They run in. They go to the library. They don't stay 2 hours. This is just to keep it moving for the businesses, and that's why we did it.
Okay.
So the only kickback was we said residents was going to be exempt, and that's what the DOT said. No, can't do it.
I know, and I know I'm jumping into the frying pan here, but I don't jump into it. I know.
You get burnt when you do that.
I know, sizzling, but I just have to put it up. I've also been asked, I mean, what about the parking for motorcycles in front of the seat? I mean, I just wanna sort of be.
Well, let me explain that to you. So
Okay.
we got 2 parking spaces in front of Sand Dollar. And it's designated for motorcycle parking. Those 2 parking spaces turn into 15 motorcycle slots. So we saved parking for 13 spaces on Center Street or the side streets. The motorcycles are not parking in, the cars can park in by creating a place where you pile them all up in one area and save all those parking spots for other people that's coming out here to enjoy the beach or whatever, or businesses or whatever.
Just wanna be clear, it's just my nature.
And if you want to talk about golf cart parking, we put those in spots that cars could not fit in.
Exactly.
So we saved car spots by allowing the golf carts to park in little spaces that cars could not fit in. So, and we have as many rental golf carts registered on this island as we have owner golf carts of owners that are residents. So it's not just for residents, it's for golf carts.
So really, at the end of the day, we actually got more spots.
We try to keep car spots for cars, and we try to create as many as we have.
Wow.
We actually have like 800 parking spots more than we have residents on the island.
Beautiful.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Post, first reading.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Groom?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
No.
Mr. Ellis?
No.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes first.
Resolution 28-22, resolution Folly Beach City Council reappointing business license hearing officer to comply with the statewide standardization business license ordinance.
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Anyone which one of those?
Mr. Rich?
No.
I'm sorry.
Said no.
No.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
I'm sorry, could you read that again?
Can't read it. Mr. Breon Judge Varnado is a business license hearing officer.
Yes.
Mr. Ellis?
No.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Resolution 29-22, resolution by Folly Beach City Council authorizing the administration to sign a purchase agreement for 502 and 504 East Huron contingent on a successful application for Charleston County Greenbelt funds. Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Resolution 30-22, resolution by Folly Beach City Council adopting the FEMA-approved 2019 Charleston Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan and Program for Public Information.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, this is an annual process. Have a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments?
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Resolution 31-22, resolution awarding $2,000 to the Folly Beach Exchange Club to assist in local scholarships and other volunteer endeavors. Recommendation by the Community Promotions Committee. Have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Any questions or comments? It's all up to you.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay. So, Mr. Grooms, any comments for this evening?
Yeah, Sunday, the 24th, coming up is Parents' Day. It's also Cousins' Day, and hopefully they're not the same people. But make sure that you send your love to your parents, those that are still living. They really meant a lot to me in my life, and my son's now a parent, so
just show your love to your family, whether they're your parents or your cousins, but it's a special day.
Mr. Ellis?
Well, I can't eat that, so I'll just pass. No matter where you stand on any issue on Folly, and no matter, if we agree to disagree, I think the best thing about Folly is that we do that. And we can leave and chat at the PO and know that nobody really wants to sit here and nobody wants to sit there. And nobody really wants cha-ching that might build.
Yes, you're done.
I'm done. I'm like, oh my God.
You need to hook next.
I was getting emotional. But truly, you agonize about these things. You never think when you voted in, it's like COVID and closing out and this and that. You take it so seriously. But at the end of the day, we're all in the same community. And at the end, I assure people that it'll be fair and just. And I just really enjoy that this dialogue. So thank you.
I'd like to recognize Officer Wheat and our Public Safety Department this past Saturday. I happened to be seated outside of Center Street Coffee when I saw our finest apprehend a vehicle that looked, by all accounts, unusual. Fortunately, a resident earlier in the day called in a complaint about them. They were driving with towels suspended from the trunk of the car, covering up their license plate. The doors were ajar, at least the driver's side. So Officer Wheat and his assistant arrived on scene. The driver was not cooperative. He actually had to draw his service pistol. And the gentleman did finally get down onto the ground. Since come to find out, they found narcotics in the vehicle, stolen license plate. The car was taken by tow truck, and it was quite an impressive scene, particularly in this day and age when we unfortunately see in the news law enforcement, getting a little too hands-on. Everything was to the letter, and I couldn't be more proud. So thank you.
Usually I just kind of skip after something like that, but I do want to follow up with something tonight, because many of the people that spoke under citizen comments are still in here. So I want to just pass something on to you. You all have had more public chances to speak publicly about some of these things than we have. But we've been working very hard at getting a lot of these things done. I just want to reiterate, because I see a lot of my friends out here on different sides of this coin. And I just got to let you know, no one is going to get 100% of what they want. You got from 49 to 25, that's huge. That's huge. So we're working in the right direction. We're working on enforcement. We never want noise or something like that to be an issue at your house. And this ordinance team is going to address that. We're going to work on a sliding scale. We said tonight we were. It's not just going to be this one fee, and we're trying to figure out exactly the hours needed so we don't just have a money grab from people. We're actively working on these things. We have been for months now behind the scenes. So please don't hold us to the fire for something that we haven't even done. And we're constantly getting better. And it's going to be a good product at the end of the day. But we all have to kind of come to realization that nobody's getting 100% what they want. But we all have to live here together. And guess what? If what we do doesn't work, we'll revisit it again later. That's how it works. This isn't the first time we've spoken about this. So it's a constant evolving process, but we will get there. So thank you for all your support and all your comments. All your emails definitely factor into what we do. I'm sorry, some people don't believe, I can't believe we didn't pass this. We are emails from everybody. And overwhelmingly, we keep track of, and that really kind of forces how we make our decisions. So it doesn't mean just because they're not here, that's not how people feel. But we're taking all that and we're really working together for a good overall product for everybody. So I really felt the need to say that tonight, because most everybody's still here. Usually everybody leaves after they speak. But thank you guys.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I think everybody had a pretty good comment tonight.
It's also National Tequila Day.
I heard that. Oh, yeah.
National Tequila Day.
Be perfect. You get in